Hey everybody, Mike Jeff for Chicago Jazz Magazine, and welcome to the feature interview for February 2020. We're going to flash back to September 2019 at the Chicago Jazz Festival for this one. I sat down with the legendary drummer Redd Holt. He talks all about coming up in music when him and Ramsey first started playing. I think it was in high school. Reminisces about the in-crowd, touring at that time, all of the different musicians he had come in contact with and performed with, and much more. So we thought we'd flash back to September 2019 and use that as our feature interview for 2020. So we hope you enjoy it. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeff for Chicago Jazz Magazine, ChicagoJazz.com. I'm down here at the 41st Annual Chicago Jazz Festival. It is an honor to sit down with one of my idols, actually, Redd Holt, the legendary drummer who played with, I mean, the list could go on and on and on and on. Ramsey Lewis, L.D. Young, Young Holt.
Unlimited.
But before we get into some of that, because we could talk for probably, 10, 12 hours about your history, which is incredible.
Yeah.
He's got an album out, Redd Holt, It's a Take. Redd Holt, It's a Take. I can't read upside down, Redd, I'm sorry. Redd Holt, It's a Take. It's out on Treehouse Records, treehouserecordschicago.com. You're also still playing a steady gig at the East Bank Club every Friday night in Chicago. You don't have to be a member to go see Redd at the East Bank Club. He plays every Friday night, 5:30 p.m. until what, 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m.?
9:30.
So that's every Friday night. You're still gigging.
Right.
And you're still in Chicago.
Hey.
After all these years.
This is home, man. This is home.
Let's talk a little bit about this album.
Okay.
So, when did this come out?
Well, it's been out now, I would say about a month or two.
Wow.
And how it all came about, there's a little guy named Tim O'Neill.
Okay.
And Tim convinced me that I should do another album. And I said, no, Tim, I don't think I should do one. I said, because, I'm getting old, man, and I don't know if the folks gonna still dig me. But it came about, man, we was working at the, as you know, you just told me, over at the East Bank.
Yep.
And I'm playing with two cats, man, that's out of sight.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan and Ken Haybick.
Yep.
Man, when this little cat came and listened to us, he said, man, you gotta record. And I said, oh no, man. I said, it's kind of late in the game for me, But he convinced me.
I'm glad he did.
And man, when we went in the studio, we clicked, man. We clicked. They got this, over there they got the old board.
Oh, okay.
From the good old days down at Chess Records when we used to record.
Yeah.
And I saw that board, man. I said, okay, it's a take.
And there it is, it's a take.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been playing? Because I know, talking to Jim Ryan, I know he's had that gig with you at least for 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
You've been doing that for a while.
I've been 16 years about.
No kidding.
Yeah. When I stopped going overseas, see, me and L.D. Young, we was going overseas, Singapore, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
Well, and he was staying over there for a long time.
Oh, he was there. Yeah, he's staying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away over there, man.
I know.
I'd stopped going there. Yeah. I stopped going in 2000.
What was it about? I mean, because, let's talk a little bit. So, you grew up in Chicago.
Right.
And you came up in Chicago. Do you even remember when you first picked up the drumsticks, when you first started playing drums?
Well, actually, when I went to Crane Tech High School.
Okay.
From that moment, from the band, I always, as a child at 9 years old, my father took us to see these minstrel shows in the South.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where it really came to me that I wanted to play it. I was 9 years old
Yeah.
But when I got to Chicago in 1941, we came to Chicago, and I went from elementary school to high school, which was Crane Tech, got in the band. I was selling from then on, man.
Yeah. They had a good program there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Crane Tech?
Yeah, man. I played basketball there, the whole bit.
So you
band.
were in like the concert band, or did they have a jazz band then? Or
No,
what?
no, we had like concert band.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. How did you? I mean, right then. I mean, in the mid '40s, right? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
mid '40s or so. I mean, that's like bebop is starting to happen and everything.
Yeah.
Was that in your purview then? I mean, did you know about it yet? Because it was pretty much just in New York, right?
We started playing bebop. A guy named Wallace Burton. We had our band. We had a 7-piece band called the West Side Clefs.
The West Side Clefs.
Clefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of that band, the last piano player we had in it was Ramsey Lewis.
Ah.
We were all just like our teenage band.
Yeah.
You know, like every Friday night we played at Union Park.
Yep.
Over that lake over there now.
Sure.
Yeah. We played there and we went on around and just kept playing jobs, you know, and it came to the point where we were playing together and I got drafted in the war, see. The band was broken up by the Korean War.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like on the tail end of it. The guys were getting drafted. The guys that were married didn't have to go, and that was L.D. Young and Ramsey.
So they were married, so they didn't get to go,
They
but
didn't
you
get
were
to
the
go.
lucky one that got to go see
Got to go,
Korea.
and I was shipped out.
Jeez.
When I came back, that's when the Ramsey Lewis Trio was formed.
So they stayed here. They were working on stuff, and when you came back, that's really when everything got
Yeah,
put
but
together.
you know, they was jobbing with different
Yeah.
guys, call you up to get a gig, you know. But when I came back is when that trio got to function and rolling, and we recorded.
It couldn't have been that long after you came back when all of a sudden you guys really hit,
Yeah,
right?
it was real short.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't call a date or whatever now what date it was. Yeah. But I was fortunate enough to be able to play among the guys and the guys that I admired, you know, like Buddy Rich, Max Roach,
Yeah.
and all these cats, man. I was like, got around and got in the mix of that.
Well, you must have been around. You had Buddy Rich, you had Max Roach, you had Louis
all
Bellson,
the
you had
cats,
Gene
yeah,
Krupa
man.
was still around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all those guys were still
Yeah,
hanging.
First time we went to Birdland. Well, the second time, I had to play between Buddy Rich and Art Blakey. You dig? There was no room for my drums, so Art Blakey said, "Hey, you can play. We're gonna play my drums," you know. And that was a good gig. You know, just to be.
So it was the Ramsey Trio in between, like the Buddy Rich band, or were you playing?
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
So it was like the Buddy Rich band, Art
Yeah.
Blakey, and the Ramsey
And the
Lewis
Ramsey
Trio,
Lewis Trio.
right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it.
Jeez.
And we were there, man, hanging out in the back room. You know, Buddy back there. You know,
Oh yeah.
And,
well, that was like what year was that? That is in the.
that was 50 something.
So Buddy was still young. I mean, he had played with the big bands, but he wasn't Buddy Rich in the '60s and '70s
Yeah,
yet.
he was still. I'm trying to think what year that was.
And that must have been an early Art Blakey group too, right? I mean,
Oh,
that Lee Morgan
Lee
maybe was in
Morgan,
it.
Bobby Timmons, and we all hung out together, man. You know, it was a great time. Man.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
Well, and
man.
that was the thing. I'm always curious because talking with somebody like you who was there at the beginning of bebop.
Yeah.
I mean, you were there at the music where it is now.
Yeah.
But I mean, back then, I mean, you tell me. I mean, I know from talking to Joe Siegel, you know,
Yeah.
because he was around all those dudes when they would
Yeah.
come through Chicago and stuff. It was like super laid back, and everybody was just like, you know, doing their thing, and they were
Yeah,
trying to
man.
get better, but it wasn't like this big, huge, some other thing. Everybody was just hanging out, right?
Yeah, you ever hear of a cat named Babs Gonzalez?
Yes.
Babs Gonzalez was one of the first beboppers. He had that was the three of them. Let's see, it was called Three Biffs and a Bop. Three Biffs and a Bop, man. Babs, whenever you see Babs was always selling his book out of bags. You know? Come on, Rez. Come on, Rez. Come on, get one. I know you're going to want these books, Red. Come on. Give me $5. Give me $5. He was a cat, really, though, turned us on to Montreux.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Babs Gonzalez.
Well, he played that famous solo, didn't
Yeah,
he?
he told Claude Nobbs, who was a festival guy, about us, man. So we went over there when we did the third festival. it was only Nina Simone's group, Bill Evans, Eddie Gomez,
Yep.
and them cats.
Yeah.
That was the first beginning of that Montreux Jazz Festival.
Ah, and you guys were on it, right?
Yeah, we stayed over there. Everybody else did the time and split, but we stayed over there for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Afterwards, the cat wanted us, you get a meal, get 2 meals a day and get a little bread.
Yeah.
We just stayed there and played.
Well, back then, I mean, when you guys are putting out a recording, when Ramsey puts out a recording with the trio and stuff, I mean, you had to go places, right? I mean, you had to play.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. You had to put it out, then you had to go and you had to tour and you had to be in front of people all the time.
That's right.
So as you were doing all that stuff, did that get ingrained in your system? So even like, you kept going and going and going, and then you're playing with different groups, you're playing with your own group and all that, but you were used to traveling. You must have been touring like for 50 years, like nonstop, right? I mean, just always on the road.
Yeah, well, what we did also, we'd go out. Sometimes we wouldn't stay, but we never stayed out no longer than a month because we had families. We were family men.
Yeah.
Like the cats that didn't have a family, they just go.
They'd be gone.
They'd be gone, man.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate there too again to have good management. See, we had Daddy O'Daly, the disc jockey.
Yep.
He was our manager, and then he turned us over to a guy named John Levy, who managed Nancy Wilson, Cannonball Adderley, everybody.
Right.
And we kind of pegged it, man. We kind of pegged it where we'd do that 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6, boom, go home.
Right.
Because we had a circuit. You could go from Chicago, Detroit, Dayton, Columbus. Jazz was
All the way around and
jazz.
end up in New York.
Jazz
and
was a
pop around.
thing, man. Every town had at least 2 jazz clubs.
Well, that was a popular music then.
Yeah,
I mean, that was like the pop music of the day. That was the
man.
hottest thing. And when you guys would go to those towns, you'd sell out the places.
Yeah, it's just great.
And it would be like a thing when you guys would hit the town, right?
Tell you, man. You guys in town? Yeah, man. Like DC was our town. Man, DC.
Really?
Ooh,
Yeah.
man. That's when the in crowd popped. We put that in crowd. Man. The people that loved us, man.
It was in D.C., huh? That really just went crazy.
The Bohemian Caverns.
Oh,
It was
okay.
at the Bohemian Caverns. This place, man, is in this building, and you go down. And, like for a little kid, if a little child walked in there, dark, and like they had faces hanging out, sculpture. Little face looking at you like, you walk down, you say, oh, wow, man. But it was great. It was like a cavern, like there's stone. You would think
Yeah.
you was in a little stone building or something.
Yeah.
And the place was jumping, man.
And those places that you used to play, like when the in crowd hit, I mean, you guys were playing clubs that were maybe 150, 200 people, right? I mean, at first, before you got into the bigger theaters.
Yeah, at first, and something like, a lot of places was in a house, like the cats converted it. Like
Oh.
the first time we went to DC, we played, what was the name of the place? These guys had different initials, and they called the place that, but if we were late getting in town, the people would get worried. They get worried. They call the state police, man.
Really?
Say, you had accidents out there? And they tell them no. And we come riding in, and they can say, oh, yeah, man, y'all late. Come and set up.
Start playing.
Yeah, it's not real family-like.
Yeah.
The warmness among musicians, man.
Well, and the three of you, I mean, you guys were like real tight too. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, you guys were all pretty much down to earth, I
Yeah.
think, and everybody was like hanging around and stuff. But
Yeah.
you never left Chicago, so you ended up just always keeping your home base here in Chicago.
Right.
Why
Right.
was that? You just loved the town?
Well, it was home.
Yeah.
It was home, married.
Yep.
My wife's home, and they would talk like, hey, maybe we ought to go to New York. But once we got to New York, we said, no, we're going to stay in Chicago.
Well, and you guys probably could because you could easily go into New York, play a bunch of times, and come back to Chicago,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. We was to stay together that long, you know, it was a blessing for all of us,
Yeah.
you know, and we all was family. We all knew each other from childhood. Our babies were born at the same. Just ran into Frame. Yeah, man. I talked to Ramsey the other day. He didn't tell me Frame was down there handling everything, you know.
Yep.
But
How long were you with Ramsey? I mean, how long was that group together?
until we broke up in what, 65.
Okay.
Yeah. We had been together. The three of us had been together since teenagers.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
We were teenagers. And we had played together. We played with other people. But we played at Daddy-O, Daddy-O was a disc jockey.
Sure, yeah.
Daddy-O Daily. And he said he saw the uniqueness in us playing together. And he kind of planned a lot of things.
Yeah. You know, I'm always curious, and of course, Redd's got this new recording, It's a Take. It's out on Treehouse Records, so it's treehouserecordchicago.com. Of course, he's playing every Friday night, 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the East Bank Club. You do not have to be a member to go check him out, and now that you've heard just a few stories from him, you've got to go check him out. I mean, I'm sure you take a break and probably talk to some people too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we have so much fun there.
Oh, well, I know the guys that you play with too, and they're just a fun hang anyways, you know. And
we can't wait Fridays when we come in. We'd be glad to see each other.
Oh, yeah.
Because just waiting for Friday, man, to come.
Yeah, but I'm always curious, especially somebody like you who came up so, in the 40s and 50s in Chicago, before really the music scene was so established.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have mentors? Did you have guys that you checked out? I mean, playing drums and stuff. Who'd you listen to back then?
Yeah,
in Chicago.
These were all guys that was jobbing. There was a guy named Oscar. Then we had.
Did you ever run into Bruz Freeman? Did you watch Bruz? Because he was playing a lot back then, right?
Right, and then he moved to California. Yeah, Bruz. That was another cast over on West Side, Sabu, Oscar. That was just. And the guys would tell you stuff.
Yeah.
They'd show you stuff, man. The one guy, Oscar, I lived next door, and we come out when I get off from the gig at night, and he'd get off from his gig, and we just sit on the porch and do like we call drum vowels. It was like dow, doom, ding,
no kidding.
bow. Oh, shout, dickety boom, tickety boom, tickety, And we said I'd do that, and guest swing, man, like tang, tang.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of guys. They were always ready to show you something, man.
That's the whole thing. I mean, even nowadays, it's so important. I mean, somebody like you, I'm sure when a young musician comes up, asks you a question, you're more than happy to tell them what's going on and everything. I'm also curious about your time. How did you get your time? Because I mean, nowadays, you can get all the electronic stuff in the world can say, hey, you're running fast, you're going slow, you're rushing, you're dragging. But I mean, back then, that wasn't happening. You were just playing, probably, right?
Just playing. And concentrating on that rhythm, on that beat.
Yeah.
Staying on it. The old cats used to say, a good drummer, you gotta have. If you got a bad drummer, he can break the band, destroy the band. Mess up the whole band.
Well, I'm a drummer, you're a drummer, and that's why we should be paid way more money than anybody else in the band, right? I mean, see, we agree.
Yeah.
We can ruin it for everybody if we want to.
I'm telling you, man. Guys who say, hey, young boy, keep that beat up.
That's
keep
right.
Going,
You tell me, but I mean, for somebody who's played with everybody in the world, is it the same as me? Like, you don't want somebody turning around and looking at you. If they're playing, they turn around and looking at the drummer, you're doing something wrong, right?
Right, man. Yeah, I remember one of those things, man. Recording, man, with, at Chess Records. I played with that group of cats from the Basie band. They called themselves, what do they call them? Something. But anyway, Daddy-O had them call me for the gig.
Yeah.
And Freddie Green, you know Freddie Green, the
Yeah,
guitar,
sure.
he's got that chump, 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 chump. And we played a couple of tunes, man. And I got out of sync. And come through, ba-doop, bop, boom. They said, cut it, oh. He turned around and looked at me and said, hey, young blood, don't do that no more.
Freddie Green said that?
Yeah, the guitar player jumped. He said, hey, don't do that no more, you know, because it wasn't a lot of overdubbing then.
Right.
Wasn't a lot of overdubbing. So you mess up, man, you got to stop, take that whole tune all over. And I say, yes, sir. But it was a fun gig. There's a record out called The Basic Guys, I think. Mm-hmm. It's an old record.
And you're
on that, and I'm also on the James Moody's Last Train from Overbrook.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm on that.
Well, we can talk about a million of those recordings, man. But all right, I want to wrap this up because I got to talk to you and do a feature at some point, and we're going to talk about all this. 'Cause
Right.
You can tell that we can start going down a wormhole, and we'll be here until they shut the lights off.
I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Redd Holt, I can't believe it. It's a take. He's got a new recording out. He's playing at East Bank Club. Obviously, if you buy a recording from him at East Bank Club, I'm sure he'll sign it for you. And that's East Bank Club every Friday night, 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. It's also available at treehouserecords.com. Redd, it is an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you here with me.
My pleasure.
Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, you got to go check him out. And if you don't check him out at the East Bank Club, be sure to pick up a recording here. Also on YouTube, if you do a search for Redd Holt, it's a take. He's got a very cool promo video that's up there too that shows some behind the scenes things of the recording. So it's very cool. I'm going to link all that stuff up in the description. It'll also be on chicagojazz.com so you can check everything out there. And until next time, hopefully I'll see you somewhere out on the scene.